We are live. This is Highly Articulated. We are doing Saturday nights live. We're going to talk some Mythic Legions. Joining me today on the video is Auston Wilson. How's it going, buddy?
Good. How are you?
I'm well. I've been busy. It's the irony of Father's Day weekend is that everybody wants all of your time. And all I want is to be left alone to do what I want. Yeah, I just want to play with my toys and get into some of the stuff that I've sort of received in the last couple of days. But we'll get into that in a minute when we do show and tell. But yeah, things are good. Things are good. How's things on the island there?
Crappy weather.
Crappy weather.
I think we've had one sunny day in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's we've had pretty wet, pretty cold weather.
Yeah.
For us at least. I mean, it's June in Kelowna. It should be warm and sunny. And it's been overcast and wet and 13, 15 degrees most days. So I hear you, man. But as collectors, in some ways, it's sort of like, well, I can't go outside. I guess, I got to stay in here and do other stuff. Anyways, let's get into it. Show and tell. Did you pick up anything interesting this week? Mythic Legions related or otherwise? That Mythic adjacent, maybe? Mine's Mythic adjacent, so that's why it's.
I don't know how exciting it is. It's not Mythic Legions, but today I bought like my first Transformer figure in like, I don't know, at least 10 years.
That's a good one, though.
Yeah, Air Razor from Beast Wars. It was on clearance, so I was like, I'll give it a try.
I bought that one for full price because it's a really good transformation. Got really good reviews. I'm not much of a Transformers guy, but when they did
Neither am I.
stuff, this Netflix series sort of got me back into Transformers in a weird way, and I bought far more than I should have. I got Optimus Prime. I really wanted Optimus Prime because I have this. I won't get too deep into it, but I have this thing where like if I still have a vintage toy, it justifies me buying like a modern version of it. So I have like a G1 Optimus.
Yep.
And so I was like, well, I'll get sort of the modern version of it. And the Earthrise one, which was like a really great transformation. He looks really, really tidy. It doesn't have a whole bunch of the I can't remember what Transformers fans call it, but there's like a term for when there's like parts that kind of stick off awkwardly that don't look kind of streamlined. And he's like
I used
such
to know
a
the
great
term.
robot. Yeah, I don't know the terms. I'm not a Transformers guy. I feel bad because my friends that are Transformers guys would probably smack me if I was sort of talking like this. But yeah, then I'm looking at I have a whole shelf of them now. I intended to get Optimus Prime, and then I was like, well, I'll probably get Megatron. I guess I'll need a Megatron. And I was like, well, I kind of want a Bumblebee as well. And then I was like, Cliff Jumper looks pretty cool. And then I was like, now I've got, I got half a shelf of figures that I have no idea who the characters are. They're just cool looking figures. That's the curse of great toy lines, though, I think. So.
Yeah, I don't need to collect another line, so like I'll try to keep it to like Beast Wars and find them on clearance and whatnot.
I wasn't getting the Beast Wars ones, but then I was like, yeah, but I mean that's the Transformers that I remember the most, like the cartoon that I remember the most from when I was a kid. But
yeah.
Anyway, good evening, Jim. How's it going, buddy? Jim, I had a great productive toy day. Did that custom robot dog for my Joe's. Customized a couple Stormtrooper backpacks and did a small Baryonyx photo shoot. Jim, how much are you loving the Hammond series, the Jurassic Park Hammond series? I've seen picture after picture after picture of Jim playing with his dinosaurs. They look fantastic. I gotta say, like that's if I was looking for another line of figures to sort of get into, I think Jim, with his photos and sort of how much zeal and zest he has for the dinosaurs, he might be able to talk me into that. But alas, I'm trying to sell off a bunch of stuff because I just don't have room. But
Yeah.
anyway, I got a big old box from Mike at E Collectibles this week. There's been a whole bunch of stuff just sort of arriving, one piece at a time. I got some stuff that I won't sort of bore everybody with, just in case they're not really that into it. Got a couple of G.I. Joe Classified series, a couple Black series, Marvel Legends. But the mythic adjacent item that I got, which I don't even know how I'm going to be able to show this. So I'll show you anyway. Sort of the Extreme Sets Castle diorama. As you can see, it's huge,
and they're incredible.
You're into the Extreme Sets. I've seen you've got a couple of them.
Yeah. I think I got at least 4.
Oh wow.
I'm looking at getting a 5th one from Mike. It's going to be the 1/18th scale for what little Star Wars vintage collection I have.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at another 1/12 scale one, because they're really well made, and once you kind of get them figured out, they're so easy to store. I usually just kind of fold them up and just slide them somewhere and just pull them out when I need to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so what you get. I just pulled a couple pieces out so I could sort of show people what we're talking about if they're not familiar with it. So what you get is that flat pack box. It's like IKEA style, because everything is like these flattened cardboard pieces. And I'm not going to do it because I kind of threw together my Sector 7, and now I'm going to have to sort of go back and refold everything. But you effectively like take these flat pieces and sort of fold them into, a 3-dimensional shape. Initially I was going to build this whole set on camera while we were chatting, and what I realized was it takes a little bit more attention, I think, than would I wouldn't be doing the set justice, because like you said, Austin, these things are phenomenal. Like the way they cut things out, every fold, I don't know if you can see that, but every fold has a little crease, so it's sort of like preset, so you don't really have to work too hard. I'm just doing this sort of on my lap, but what I'm planning to do when I sort of put this together properly is actually use a metal ruler to really get a nice crisp fold. And there's a couple pieces that I might hit with a little bit of hot glue just to sort of keep them in place a little bit better. Pieces where it's kind of like multiple pieces going together, and I don't think I'm going to flatten those ones, and so I'll probably just glue them. But then you get these really great 3-dimensional pieces that all just sort of go together. This is upside down. I just realized this is upside down. So this one is the column from the castle. It's got vines on the top. So this is an update of the dungeon set, but it's so it's purple instead of green, and it has vines. But they're really, really well done, really intricately done, tons of detail. The staircase, there's like 9 different stairs, and each stair has a different print. Like it's not a repeat print. Like you don't get 9 copies of the same one. Like I'm really, really impressed. And unfortunately just haven't had the chance to put any more of it together, but that's the next piece and so on. But they're phenomenal, and great for photographers, people taking pictures of their toy photography. I'm probably not gonna, it's probably not gonna improve my toy photography very much, but I'm gonna play with these like crazy, and I'm really gonna enjoy it. The instructions are like one single sheet of paper, but they give you enough, and I mean you can figure it out. If you've ever if you've ever folded a box together, you can figure it out. Pretty simple and straightforward.
The first one I ever got was actually missing its instructions, so I was going in blind. I had to get Tyler to help me because my hand was broken at the time too. And horrible. I swore off extreme sets at that point. I was like, oh god, they don't even come with instructions. And then I found out mine was just missing it. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's what I was gonna ask. Did you just assume that they just didn't come with instructions? You just
Yeah.
thought like, oh man, like I thought this was gonna come with at least some insight as to how to put it together. um Getting back to those dinosaurs, Jim said, oh man, they are great. The wait for the T-Rex is killing me. Yeah, some of those bigger ones are pretty cool. So that's show and tell. We are going to move on to the next section of our show. This is sort of a new thing that I'm going to be doing, called This Just In. Now, this section is going to be this just in is essentially like what kind of new stuff has come up, what's sort of come up for a pre-order, what's come in stock, what's available. I mean, we're toy collectors. We're always on the hunt. We're always looking for new stuff. So let's just pull up the eCollectibles website and we can very quickly look at what's come in. So right on the front page, I mean, we get the pre-orders, but I want to go a little bit deeper because there's some stuff that came out in the last couple days. Some new vintage collection stuff, Black Series stuff. Kenner's doing those real Ghostbusters retro stuff. Are you a Ghostbusters guy at all?
I mean, I've seen the movies multiple times, but I was never a huge fan. I liked the cartoon when I think it was the '90s cartoon when I was a kid.
Real Ghostbusters, yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed that, but I was never a huge fan. I was never like big into the toys or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Then we got the Witcher stuff, the Kikimora. This I think this one really translates to Mythic Legions for a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
I think a few guys in Knights of the North already have this, and they swear by it. They love it. This thing is nightmare inducing. The faces that the interchangeable, like, ugh.
Yeah.
Now I correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure this was from the first episode of the first season of Witcher, was it not?
Yeah, I think it was actually like the first scene as well.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
But one thing I want to point out with the alternate head there, the bloody head, there's a slot at the top of its mouth and the back of its head where you can shove a blade through it. So yeah, you can.
I mean,
I'm sure a Mythic Legion sword might be a little too thick, but I know the sword that comes with Geralt here. So this kind of thinness, but it slides right in there. Which I mean, for photography, that's awesome.
For sure. Ninja Turtle stuff, got more NECA stuff. The G.I. Joe Transformers crossover of Bumblebee as an Awe Striker, which I won't get into tonight, but I will get into tomorrow in the G.I. Joe video that we will be doing. New Snake Eyes, more Ghostbuster stuff. I mean, lots of awesome stuff. New in stock as well.
Well, the nice thing about that Snake Eyes, I mean, people love their wolves for Mythic Legions. So you get another timber with a different color scheme. So that's awesome.
I effectively got that Snake Eyes for two reasons, and I was always going to get it. And I'm in the minority that actually loves it. I love Snake Eyes. He's my favorite. I am in the process of trying to complete a full set of the vintage. There's 68 vintage Snake Eyes. People are complaining that there's multiple classified versions, and I'm sitting here like, bring it on. I'll take all of them. So I really want to get that Snake Eyes. I actually really like the deco, and the white timber is fantastic. And yes, I think he's going to end up probably in some mythic scenes as well. But in stock we have all the extreme sets showed up at eCollectibles. So if you're sort of thinking about those, I would strongly recommend you get one, if not multiples. If you're still on the fence, I'm planning to sort of put together my castle and do sort of a quick video and a quick review of it. So stay tuned for that. Doctor Strange looks phenomenal at 45 bucks. I think a lot of people ended up buying this through the US, paying the US price plus shipping plus. And I just had a feeling that I was going to be able to pick it up, whether it was through Walmart or whether it was through Mike. I had a strong sense that I was going to be able to pick this up. I'm so happy that I waited, because for 45 bucks, I really can't go wrong with that figure. He showed up too. I'm really excited to open him on my hopefully my day where I'm left alone tomorrow. That's on my list to do. Some of the NECA Defenders of the Earth stuff. Again, another Walmart exclusive, that Marvel Legends Ulick the Troll, again sort of crosses over into Mythic Legions territory, or Animal Warriors of the Kingdom territory. I'm now sort of looking at other lines to sort of integrate into Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, which should be here relatively soon. And then if you're into Legends, there's been a couple waves come in pretty recently here. So lots of good stuff. Lots of good stuff from Mike at eCollectibles. Get over there, get your orders in, and don't pay the late fees, as it were, when Auston and I get this cool stuff and you didn't, because you didn't pull the trigger. We've got Jim saying Moose soon, man, soon. The Alithia wave is on the water. It's on its way to us. The deluxe Legion builders are on their, well, I don't know that they're on the water yet, but they're coming soon, which is fantastic. I'm really excited for those. In the meantime, we probably have a couple other pre-orders coming up. We have the Trolls pre-orders still available through Four Horsemen. If you are a Canadian fan of Mythic Legions, I would say collect how you like, do what you want, but having ordered direct from Four Horsemen, nothing against them. It's FedEx that'll kill you. The shipping charge is high. The import duties, the import fees, all the garbage that they saddle you with after you have your product delivered is what really kills the deal there. Mike will be getting them probably very, very soon. Be patient. Auston, are you getting a couple trolls?
So I'm not worried about the ice troll. I've been wanting Brontis for a long time. I keep looking at my shelf going, I don't know how he will fit. So that's the one thing kind of make me go, maybe not, but I'll probably.
It looks like next to your window, it looks like you could probably fit another shelf in there.
Oh, you mean like right over here?
No, where you got it's like a carded figure on the wall. I'm pretty sure you could probably sneak something in there.
Yeah, maybe. I wouldn't put a troll on there, that's for sure.
No, but you could move some of the other figures, up onto a shelf, and then he could sort of take up some space. I actually find that the troll works really well. I can get little guys underneath them, so I actually have a couple. I have the Mythoss underneath.
Okay. Yeah.
The picture that we have in the background there, I almost have those guys sort of clustered together. But anyway, Jim said everyone needs a Kikimora Mythic adjacent for sure. Timber with free tactical ninja accessories. Yeah. It's true. I mean, that's for a lot of people. The Timber was, my honest assessment of that Timber that came out with the Commando Snake Eyes. This was that Timber was probably my favorite figure of 2021. Like, apart from Snake Eyes, Timber was phenomenal. And give me a white one, give me a black one, give me a more brown one. I'll have a whole wolf pack if they go that route.
I believe it was Swoosh. They just did a review for Crocmaster, and the figure awesome, but the gator is holy moly, the thing's phenomenal.
Do you have one?
No, no, oh, I've one pre-ordered with Mike. Oh, you got it.
It's it's amazing. It's amazing. The the price of admission for that figure is all worth it with the crocodile for sure, for sure. Like articulated jaw, articulated legs. The tail is bendy, like it's that old school kind of
Oh,
soft
nice.
rubber with wire, so you can pose it one way or the other. Like it's again for the photographer guys. If you need a croc, that's it. That's it right there. Um, Troll wise, yeah, I'm kind of like you. The ice troll doesn't necessarily do a whole lot for me. The Brontis, I do like that Brontis. My nitpick is I'm not a big Noble Bear, House of the Noble Bear guy, so I'm not really buying him to add him to that. I was really hoping we would either the either of the heads that came with the Forest Troll 2.0, because the other two heads, the Cyclops head and the original Stone Troll head, I just don't love for whatever reason. They just don't appeal to me. So I'll probably get Brontis, and I'll probably keep him as the Cyclops because I can sort of spin his bio into my head canon for lore.
Yeah, there you
He
go.
could he doesn't have to be sort of House of the Noble Bear. He could just be, a very intelligent Cyclops troll. So I'm looking forward to those. I'm more looking forward to All Stars 5,
Yeah.
proper All Stars 5. The trolls are sort of like, okay, the All Stars 5 is now too big of a wave. We got to slim it down. We'll do the trolls first and sort of get the trolls out of the way. What do you think we're gonna get for All Stars 5? I feel like every week we talk about All Stars 5, but it's coming up because they effectively said that end of July pre-orders are going to go up for end of July for All Stars 5. So there's a very good chance we're going to get something revealed sooner rather than later. Hopefully.
Well, I know for All Stars 4, when the voting was happening, everyone voted for six figures. So everyone assumed, oh, we're going to get six figures. But then they picked the top four. And I noticed, well, obviously, like for this time, you voted for your top, was it top three? Or was it top four? I can't remember.
It was like start to finish. It was like all the groups you voted for two in each group, and then
Yeah,
from groups they pulled the top ones, and then there was 10 on the list, and I think you could vote for three. I think that was what
three.
it was.
I think it was
Think
three.
so.
Yeah. So of course, everyone's assuming you can vote for three, so they'll pick three winners. But that, last time you could vote for six and they pick four. So maybe they're doing the opposite. That you can vote for three, but they'll pick five. Maybe. I don't know. Um, so that, and if they're saying, oh, the wave's too big, so we're going to make the trolls a separate wave, that makes me think we're going to get at least five picked. I still think that oh god, I always feel bad because I can't remember his name, but the fella who passed away and they made the dwarf figure in honor of him.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll be in that wave, probably be six figures,
Mm-hmm.
and who knows? Maybe we'll get our first all-star horse already or something like Balius in different colors. I don't know.
Could very well be. I mean, there's a lot of demand for that. We will be um, we will be getting our fourth uh, Necronominus will have a horse. So we'll have Aethon, Phobos, and the Plague horse, as well as the horse, Necronominus's horse, versus just Balius. So it stands to reason that sooner rather than later we should probably get another horse that airs on the side of the good guys, if you will.
Do we want to
It's
count the moose? I mean, the moose isn't a horse, but
but he's awesome. I can't wait for that moose. We're getting a centaur as well, so I mean, I guess on some level, we're getting a half horse.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
I
not
think
nothing.
the way he's designed, like can't you? I think you can like pop the torso off and put on like a Balius head or an alternate horse head or whatever. So
I'm hoping that the colors match. I'm hoping that Balius and
yeah,
Aphorus. I'm hoping that those colors are the same colors for the sort of the torso, so that you could integrate a Balius head onto that torso and swap it, because then you could have a different horse if you so desired. I I think you're right as far as that dwarf tribute figure. A lot of talk about that. They mentioned that it's going to be a regular release at some point, so this sort of makes practical sense. Jim mentions that we'll get another. I assume we'll get another couple Motu tributes again in All Stars 5. I think that's a safe assumption. There's certainly no guarantee of that, but when they're talking about how big this wave is going to be and that it's going to be worth the wait and everybody's going to love it and all that kind of stuff, I got to think that we're going to get at least the top three from the All Stars voting, one or two tributes, the dwarf tribute figure. I'm counting on my fingers, but I've only counted to three so far. But that's should be six. Six figures. That's already sort of a standard all-star size wave, but they keep saying it's bigger. It's bigger. There's more. There's gonna be so. I am of the opinion, and I'm new to this, so I don't necessarily know anything. I just speculate. I speculate that we could see at least one version 2 of a character. We've already seen Gorgo and Attila at yeah, is that right? The 2-pack is Gorgo and Attila.
yeah,
So they've sort of gotten to that point with the brand, with the line, where they're doing version 2.0s of some of the original, Kickstarter figures and such. I could see Otho version 2. I could see Urzok version 2. I could see maybe one of the dwarfs version 2. Gideon version 2. Although I also think that we might get Gideon version 2 in the Necronominus wave, in the same way that we got like Baron Voligar 2 in the
that would make
Alithia
more
wave.
sense.
I think it just makes more sense that an Etheron figure would be in the Necronominus wave to get a version 2, because it's right there. Like, it's such an obvious choice. Whereas some of the other ones might not have that chance, because they might have worked better in a wave that came out this year or last year, or whatever. So I think they could sneak a couple of those in there. So we could be looking at, probably easily 6 figures, possibly 8, 10. Like, it could be a big wave.
I mean, All Stars 2, which I mean that was a while ago, but All Stars 2 had 10 figures, so it's not impossible.
And it's not unprecedented either. They seem to have been going to smaller waves recently, but maybe it's sort of one of these things where they just had so many ideas and so many things come up where they go, yeah, we just got to do 10. That's and maybe they were looking and they're like, we can't do 10 plus a troll.
Yeah, no way.
I mean, 6 plus a troll, I don't think is unmanageable. 8 might be pushing it, so I guess 8, maybe 10. Is that sort of what we're thinking?
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking like minimum 6. Like, I can't see them doing less than 6. But even then, that like you were saying, they're talking about it's a big wave. The 6 doesn't seem that massive. So,
do you think we'll see anything like the 2-packs? Like, will they do, or do you think that's sort of a one-off event thing?
I was just thinking about that. Like, it'd be easy for them to do Otho and Urzok as a 2-pack. It'd be easy for them to do Gideon and I don't know, something else as a 2-pack. Like
Mhm.
2-packs will sell if it's just because this is like the one toy line I collect that I've seen where if you put 2 figures in a set, people are going to buy it no matter what. They're not going to go, "Oh man, I don't want Urzok, only want Otho." It's like, no, just buy
Mhm.
both.
You bring up a good point too, because in a lot of lines, you get 2-packs where, and it's great marketing by companies that maybe are more inclined to do this sort of thing, but they'll give you a figure that people have asked for ages and a figure that nobody wants in a 2-pack.
Yeah,
So you're burdened with a figure that you don't know what to do with, and you're effectively paying twice the price for the figure that you do want.
yeah,
With Four Horsemen, they always give you options too. So there's with the Four Horsemen, they do 2-packs, right? So you can get you can get Alithia with Phobos, you could get Arethyr with Aethon. They give you that option if you want to keep them in package and nice and tidy and have the Four Horsemen as sort of a set, but you can also buy them separately. So if you don't want the horses, maybe you don't have the space, maybe you don't have the cash, whatever the case may be, they give you that option. uh Con exclusives, yeah, we have this con exclusive, but you'll have at least one chance to buy it after the fact. It might not be exactly the same, but it's like, oh, it doesn't have the same head, or maybe it does. um they're very much a brand oriented to their fans, and they listen, and they want feedback, and they're not trying to alienate people or sort of push people away with product that they don't want, or 2-packs that they don't want, or arbitrary, oh, this is a deluxe figure because we painted the sword. Some of that kind of stuff. I could see a 2-pack, and I could also see it in a way that's sort of like, okay, you can get the 2-pack and it has sort of more accessories or something like that, or there's like a specific color, or there's a head, or there's something sort of to the 2-pack to make it sort of a deluxe 2-pack. But you can also get them separately. I don't know. I mean, let your mind run rampant. Really, there's no telling what they might do. But I'm all for it. I'm looking forward to it, and I can't wait to get those pre-orders. Um, the only other sort of news thing that happened this week, and it's not, I guess it's not news, but it's sort of something that happened within Mythic Legion's Mythic Legion's community, is there was sort of talk about when Jeremy did Mythic Conversations, he was talking about recasting the Covenant of Shadows. So picking new representatives for each of the factions to sort of represent the individual factions in the Covenant, which got me thinking about the lore and about the story. And Jeremy also sort of started saying some things about, like, if you like the mythology and you like the lore, we've got some big things planned for you. So I think that this All Stars 5 wave, in a weird way, isn't going to be an All Stars wave, if that makes sense. And I'll try to elaborate on that. We're gonna get the winners of the All Stars 5 vote, but I think what's really gonna be the big news, the sort of big thing about this wave, is that there's gonna be something added to the mythology, something added to the lore, which is why I think version 2.0 figures. I think there's gonna be something that sort of pushes the lore forward. I think maybe one of the version 2 figures, the bio gets updated. Maybe there's something more to a story that we already have some of the background, but maybe we're gonna get a little bit more. I'm I'm as excited for that and interested for that as I sort of am not, because as much as I love the bios, sometimes the lore, like, there's figures that I'll just never buy. The Necronominous wave, I'm sort of thinking in my head, okay, like the Aetheron stuff, I'm probably gonna get. I'll probably get Necronominous. I don't know if there's another skeleton that's really gonna do it for me. But everybody has different preferences. What do you think? Do you stick to the lore, or do you sort of work from like a head canon, or do you even care? Do you just love the figures and you just buy whatever is sort of cool?
I do a bit of both. I think I'm probably more headcanon now. But when
Hmm.
I started collecting, it was okay. I'm just going to get the skeletons, just the skeletons, just Necronominus. That's going to be my thing. And then I read the lore and went, oh, okay, so their opposing faction is the Order of Therion. I'm like, okay, so I'll get those, have a good guy faction, have a bad guy faction. There we
Hmm.
go. Um, and then I kind of stopped caring about the lore and started picking up stuff that looked cool. Um, and then I also switched gears to vampires. Vampires was like the one faction. I was like, no, I want every single figure from that faction. Um, and
Do
some
you
of the
have
lore
all?
I have all the vampires, yes.
Nice.
So the two big ones being Carpathius and
Mhm.
Borgus Vermilius. Um, those were actually surprisingly easy to get. They weren't cheap, but they were easy to get at the time. Um, and then after a while, it's just yeah, like I said, it's just like oh that looks cool, that looks cool, I like that. And lots of times it wasn't even like oh that looks cool. It was just something popped up on the Cabal. I went oh that's a good price. Do you ship to
Right,
Canada? Done. Like
right.
like I never plan on getting him. I'll pull him out because he's right here. But this way, there we go. Helmir
Oh,
Golden Tooth,
yeah.
which I love this figure. It's so cool, but had no real interest in the character besides the fact it's a dwarf.
Uh-huh.
And he was like a fighter in the Coliseum. Like what they do, don't care. But yeah, guy was selling it on the Cabal sometime last year, maybe even 2020 for a half decent price. I just went, screw it, let's do it.
Hmm.
And now I got this 3 shelves full, so it got out of hand.
Legions has that effect on people. Um, that's similar to my Sir Valgard story too. Like I was like, oh, he's a cool figure, but I doubt I'll ever have even the chance to sort of get it. And then shout out to Chris Dalgleish. He found one that was like one of the first Mythic Legions figures that he found, and I said, hey, I'll if you're interested in trading that figure or selling that figure, I'd be interested. And we worked something out, and we were both very happy with the deal. And so yeah, kind of by luck, not really looking for it, it just sort of came across, my it just sort of came up, and I sort of took the opportunity. So but that's true of so many figures, right? Like there's so many figures, so many characters where you kind of look at it and you go like, yeah, that's cool, it's okay. Like there's a weird there's a weird thing about Mythic Legions where I find that they're sort of underwhelming to look at pictures. Like well, I shouldn't say that. 1/6 shooter, Trevor's shots are amazing.
Yeah,
And if you look at those shots and you're like, yeah, these are pretty boring, there's something wrong with your head. Um, but typically, when I see the static shots on sort of the black backgrounds, they don't always do that much for me when I sort of first look at them. It's when you really look at them for a long time, you start looking at the details, and especially with the Alithia wave and stuff. The more I look at the details, the more I go, oh, that belt is different. That's a new belt. Oh, that pauldron is new. Oh, you just keep noticing all the different details that are different or new, or they've done something unique, or used a piece in a way that they haven't before, or something like that. It's just they're just such great figures, and then you get them in hand, and you're
yeah,
like, oh, it's even better than I thought it was, because I didn't notice this thing that's sort of underneath this other thing, or I wasn't looking closely enough at this particular detail or whatever. Jim says, I feel like All Stars 5 will be like when a tabletop game releases a second edition that makes it more accessible to new players. Kind of a brand new entry point for new collectors. I could see that. I think Mythic Legions is somewhat at a tipping point in a way, with the video game coming out, more interest in the line, more fans, more people coming to the brand, selling more units, giving them more flexibility in terms of what they are able to produce, how many figures they can come out with, stuff like that. As money's coming in, they seem very eager to put that money into more figures, new molds, updates, pushing the molds with more detail, the soft goods, the wired soft goods from CJ, all that kind of stuff is looking better and better with every wave. I could definitely see All Stars 5 being sort of another, there was the Kickstarter one, Advent of Decay, and maybe this is sort of another sort of starting off point, another real sort of watermark of like, okay, here's where you start, and sort of going forward, you're in, you'll get it, you'll have access to characters and figures and so on. And with that, I think too, they could do something more with the lore, whether that's, I fingers crossed, I'm hoping for another comic book. I would love another comic book. I would love something that's like a physical, here's where we move the story forward. Which sort of brings up the last thing that I wanted to sort of chat about. And then after this, we'll tie it up, because we just would probably otherwise go on forever, just ranting and raving about different stuff. The comic book is effectively the only media, the only sort of hard copy of story of anything, and it's really just a starting point. I'm looking at other lines. The other lines, I'll just reference other lines that I'm interested in, or that I have on my shelves and stuff like that. Marvel Legends has 80 years now of comic books to pull from. G.I. Joe was a Marvel comic book for a while before it became, Devil's Due and Image, and now it's IDW till the end of the year, when who knows where it's going to go. But they've got 40 years of comic books behind them, plus cartoons, plus movies. Marvel has cartoons and movies as well. Gundam, I build Gundam models. There's Gundam Wing is the series that I love, and everybody sort of loves the kits that correspond to the series that they love. Transformers, has I think the cartoon for Transformers is really the big one, but there's people that read the comics as well. I downplay that. Like there's tons of people that read those comics. It's not like a fringe thing. Ninja Turtles, cartoons. Well, I should say Ninja Turtles comic books first, cartoons, etc. Star Wars has obviously probably the biggest sort of media backing. Did I miss any? Well, Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. Did you read issue 2 yet? Did you read issue 1?
No, honestly, I'm trying not to tempt myself.
Fair enough, because I basically tell people if you read the comics, you'll want the figures. So that's fair enough. Stay away from that comic book, because it's phenomenal. Shout out to Jason and all the guys over at Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, because man, I'm so excited for that line. That's probably my most anticipated. When that box shows up from Mike, that's the box that I'm waiting on this year. Like all the stuff that I'm really looking forward to, that's really the one that I'm most excited for. But that comic book is phenomenal. It's funny that Jim mentions tabletop games, because Animal Warriors of the Kingdom is going to have a tabletop game that goes with it. More to come on that soon. They are, to the best of my knowledge, revealing a little bit more information about that at Joe Fest, which is very soon. But I digress. Would you like more story by way of comic book, or even if it's articles or something on the website? Would you like more story for Mythic Legions, or do you like that it's somewhat nebulous? It leaves you open to your own imagination.
Yeah, well, I do like how open it is, because I'm very much a collector of, like, and I've gotten better at this, but like for Star Wars toys, I would always try to have like original trilogy together and prequels together and sequels together, because like I don't like crossing them. I go, no, that person wouldn't be with that person at this time, so they have to go on different spots. Um, so I can do that with Mythic Legions right now. Like there's no real timeline, so to speak. It's just everyone is here and everyone's together. Okay, cool. With saying that though, um, I'm not. The thing is, comics can be expensive, just like everything else. Everything else can be expensive. Um, so I would actually feel better if they just wrote a novel. I
Did
mean,
you
that'd be
read his comment?
oh, there you go. I would love a novel. There you go. Yeah, like I would love a novel. I don't know how they would do it exactly. Like they just follow one faction, and or maybe they do multiple novels from different faction perspectives. I don't know. But that would be up my alley. I mean, don't get me wrong. If they did comics, I'd read the comics. But
No, I know what you mean though, because if you do if you do comics, you're kind of it's sort of that same thing where like when people are fans of a series of books and then they make movies, and people kind of go, well, that's not what it looked like in my head.
mhm,
And I think I know what you mean, where like with Star Wars, right? You don't want like the black. This just popped into my head. Like there's a new Black Series Han Solo from The Force Awakens.
yeah,
You can't put him on a shelf with like Princess Leia with the buns when she's on the like in A New Hope. You can't just put them on the same shelf.
yeah,
Yes, they're both Star Wars characters, but there's literally decades in between those appearances, right?
yeah,
So on some level, they're yes, they're both Star Wars figures, and yes, Han and Leia sort of have their relationship, but that Han and that Leia don't jive. Like
yeah,
that's not the combo. I mean, I'm probably less picky than a lot of people. I have a tendency to sort of pick my favorite version of things, and I can put them on the shelf together. Um, I'm not a big Black Series guy. I kind of got into Black Series because of Mandalorian. I have tons of Star Wars Lego, which is why I sort of avoided the Black Series. I was like, oh, I already got most of these figures in a 1.5 inch tall figure. I don't need it in a 6 inch figure. Um, that being said, I'm looking at the 3 Black Series figures that were in my last box for Mike, um, but I went with Mandalorian because it was kind of a clean slate, and it's kind of like it's all right now. So
yeah.
you're going to get the version that exists right now. So I got, of course, the first version of Mandalorian. Then he changed his armor within like 3 weeks or whatever, and I was like, no, now I need another Mandalorian. Um, which was fine. I like both versions. That's fine. Hopefully, he doesn't change his armor again. But then like there's 2 versions of Griff Targa, and I passed on the first one. I will get the second one, but I can put the second one next to the original armor Mandalorian, and I don't have a problem with it. I know that some people will be like, "That's sacrilegious. You can't have like, well, that's season 1 and season 2. You can't mix those." And I'm like, "Yeah, you know what? You can. Nobody did that. This is, they're my toys. No one's gonna come over to my house like Hasbro or George Lucas or Dave Filoni's not gonna come over to my house and rearrange my figures on my shelf. So you can do whatever you want. That's my point. But Yeah, I do agree that, like, yeah, if you do a novel, like if you do just text, it allows people's sort of headcanon to still exist. You can still imagine that certain characters are how you imagine them. They don't have to change outfits. They don't. You don't have to, like, now I need version 2. Like if you got version 1, or if you missed version 1 and they released, Otho version 2, you don't need Otho version 1 to sort of have the have the character.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, that's a big topic. It's a big discussion, and I think it's a relevant one for a lot of collectors. Completist collectors get frustrated by that kind of stuff. Like, oh, there's another version of Jedi Luke in Black Series. Like, oh, okay, well that's 6, and they haven't gotten him right yet. Um, I think with Mythic Legions, I don't think they're trying to do that. I don't think they're trying to sort of push the boundaries of, like, how much will people spend,
yeah,
in a good way. So I could see a novel. I mean, there's a lot of really talented, really creative people that are fans of Mythic Legions. That one of them could be a writer and might have sort of said, "Hey, I got a premise. Here's what I want to do. Are you guys interested?" Maybe it's sort of regular installments. Maybe it's not a novel. Maybe it's sort of a quarterly or semi-annual or something. Like maybe it's sort of a chapter at a time, in a way. I don't
yeah.
know. I would love more, and I would take it. I mean, it doesn't necessarily change what's going to be on my shelf, but I'm all for it. I would love to have some of these characters, a little more fleshed out.
Yeah,
The bios are great, but I mean, there's a lot of alluding to bigger stories, bigger plot lines, without really getting too deep into them. And I would love to see some of those storylines expanded upon and elaborated upon, and to get more Legions lore. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe it'll be a novel. Maybe it'll be a comic book. Maybe it'll be nothing at all. Maybe it'll just be an update to the bios, and maybe that's just the way they like it. Maybe they prefer to come out with really cool toys and not make it so that it's too difficult to sort of get into. I don't know. That's a conversation. Maybe if I ever have the opportunity to ask those guys, I will ask those hard hitting, pertinent questions. But until then, we will just have to wait and see. Austin, it was a pleasure having you on. It's always a pleasure. You've done a bunch of these now, so it's always a pleasure. It's always fun for us to do it on the West Coast. It's about 7 o'clock here. It's 10 o'clock on the East Coast.
yeah,
I can still see in the window there. There's still, like, pretty sunny where you are.
yeah.
Well, it might be sunny, but it's still pretty bright out. It's still pretty bright here too. But I won't keep you any longer, and I won't keep anybody watching any longer, because we don't really have anything. Well, we didn't have anything important to say, but we don't have anything else planned to talk about this evening. So I will just say to everybody, thank you all for joining us, and we will see you again next Saturday, very likely, for more chat about Mythic Legions. And we will do this all again next Saturday. So thank you for joining us, and have a great evening. Bye bye.
See you, everyone.